The first thing the Zyran Empire saw when they entered the Sol system was absolutely nothing. No defense stations. No warships. No warning signals. Just a quiet yellow star, and a small blue planet slowly turning in the darkness. From the command deck of the flagship Night Harbinger, High Commander Verix stared at the tactical display floating in front of him. Cold blue light reflected across his armored face as thousands of fleet markers surrounded the system in perfect formation. Behind him waited an invasion force powerful enough to erase entire civilizations in a single day. And yet, nothing moved. No alarms. No military response. Not even fear. Earth continued orbiting its star as if the greatest fleet in the sector had never arrived. Verix gave a low laugh. "They don't even know we are here," he said. That was the first mistake. Before we continue, subscribe, because what humanity did next is the reason no empire has ever tried invading Earth twice. The Zyran Empire did not negotiate. They consumed. For over 400 years, their fleet spread across the galaxy like fire through dry forests. Every species they found faced the same outcome. Arrive. Overwhelm. Erase. Harvest. Entire worlds disappeared behind them. Some civilizations fought until the end. Others surrendered immediately. None survived. And after centuries of conquest, the Zyrans believed one thing with complete certainty. Every species breaks eventually. Run full system scans, Verix ordered calmly. The bridge became silent as waves of sensor energy spread across the Sol system. Data flooded the tactical screens. Planets. Asteroids. Satellites. Old stations drifting in orbit. Then the reports started coming in. Energy readings detected across the third planet, one officer announced. Industrial activity confirmed. Large communication networks. Orbital debris fields. The officer paused. Verix slowly turned toward him. Well. The officer hesitated. And hesitation aboard a Zyran warship was dangerous. There are no active planetary defenses, he finally said. No orbital weapons. No military fleet signatures. No unified combat network. Earth glowed peacefully beneath the darkness of space. Its cities sparkled along the night side like tiny stars. To Verix, it looked weak, primitive, unprepared, disorganized prey, he said. He rose from the command throne, towering over the bridge crew. Begin planetary cleansing. That was their second mistake. Across the invasion fleet, weapon systems awakened instantly. Massive cannons rotated toward Earth. Energy chambers ignited. Targeting systems locked onto major cities, military bases, and infrastructure hubs. Within seconds, enough firepower to destroy continents pointed directly at humanity. Fire. A single beam erupted from the front of the fleet. Brilliant. Perfect. Absolute. It crossed space in an instant. And vanished. Not blocked. Not deflected. Not absorbed. It simply stopped existing. The beam unraveled halfway to Earth, breaking apart into millions of tiny particles before fading into nothing. Silence filled the bridge. Weapons officers stared at their screens in confusion. No impact. No explosion. No atmospheric damage. Nothing. Verix narrowed his eyes. Report. Weapons failure detected, an officer answered nervously. But diagnostics show no malfunction. Another alarm suddenly echoed across the bridge. Then another. Then dozens more. Commander, the sensor officer shouted. We are losing ships. The tactical display flickered violently. One destroyer icon disappeared. Then another. Then 3 more vanished together. No explosions. No debris. No escape pods. Just empty space where entire warships had existed seconds earlier. What is happening? Verix demanded. No enemy signatures detected. That's impossible. The tactical grid twisted strangely. Distances changed randomly. Formation markers warped across impossible angles. Space itself no longer behaved correctly. And for one terrible second, Verix disappeared. No sound. No darkness. No thoughts. No time. Then reality slammed back into place. He gasped violently and grabbed the arms of his throne. For a fraction of a second, he had stopped existing. And somehow, he remembered it. Varix looked around the bridge in horror. Half the crew was gone. Their control stations still glowed normally, but the seats sat empty as if nobody had ever been there. One officer's headset floated in the air before falling slowly onto the floor. The commander's breathing became uneven. Outside the massive front view screen, the Zyran fleet continued disappearing one ship at a time. Silent. Instant. Wrong. A battlecruiser vanished in the middle of a turn. An entire carrier group blinked out together. No fire. No wreckage. No remains. It looked less like destruction, and more like reality itself was deleting them. Retreat. Varix roared. Pull the fleet out of the system immediately. Navigation crews scrambled across their controls. Jump drives failing. Spatial locks unstable. We can't form exit vectors. Another ship vanished. Then another. Panic spread across the bridge. For the first time in centuries, the Zyrans were afraid. Varix stared at the tactical display as entire sections of his fleet disappeared faster and faster. This wasn't war. War had rules. War made sense. This did not. Then the lights across the bridge dimmed. Every screen froze. The alarm stopped. A deep silence swallowed the ship. And something touched his mind. Gentle. Cold. Ancient. Like a fingertip pressed against still water. A voice followed. Human. Calm. Emotionless. You crossed the threshold. Varix froze. Every instinct in his body screamed danger. What are you? He whispered. No answer came at first. Instead, images exploded inside his mind. Human history. Wars covering entire continents. Cities burning beneath nuclear fire. Machines calculating death faster than living minds could understand. He saw humanity fighting itself again and again across thousands of years. Violence. Fear. Greed. Survival. A species brilliant enough to reshape worlds, yet dangerous enough to destroy itself. The visions kept coming. Artificial intelligences predicting extinction scenarios. Governments collapsing under impossible decisions. Scientists running simulations that always ended the same way. No matter how advanced humanity became, eventually someone would start a war powerful enough to end everything. And humanity realized something terrifying. As long as conflict remained possible, extinction remained possible too. So they searched for another solution. Not stronger fleets. Not bigger weapons. Something deeper. Something final. Varix saw enormous structures hidden beneath moons and buried inside dead planets. Machines woven directly into gravity itself. Code layered beneath physics. Systems built so deep into reality that normal civilizations could never detect them. And then he understood. Humanity had not built a defense system. They had rewritten the rules of the Sol system itself. The voice returned. It does not attack hostile forces. Varix felt cold terror spread through his body. The voice continued. It identifies contradictions. Suddenly his left arm vanished. No blood. No pain. One moment it existed. The next moment, it didn't. Varix screamed and stumbled backward. Then the arm returned instantly like nothing had happened. His mind nearly broke trying to process it. What did you do to me? It was a demonstration, the voice replied calmly. Outside the ship, another fleet formation disappeared from existence. Varix finally understood the truth. Every invading force entered the Sol system expecting war. But humanity had moved beyond war long ago. You turned your system into a weapon, he whispered. For the first time. The voice changed slightly. Not anger. Not pride. Something colder. No, it said. We turned it into a condition. The bridge around Varix began to break apart. Not physically. Conceptually. A section of the floor vanished without warning. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Simply removed. 1 second it existed beneath his feet. The next second there was only open space leading into the stars. Crew members stumbled back in terror. One soldier reached for a railing. and his entire body disappeared before touching it. No scream. No sound. Nothing. The tactical screens became impossible to read. Numbers changed constantly. Distances folded into nonsense. Ships appeared in two places at once before vanishing completely. The laws of reality inside the Sol system were collapsing around them. Or worse, they were being overwritten. Verix forced himself to speak. "You're killing us." The voice answered immediately. "No." Another ship vanished outside. "It is your hostility that cannot exist here." Verix's chest tightened. For the first time in his life, he realized he was facing something far beyond military power. Empires could be resisted. Weapons could be countered. Even gods could be challenged. But how do you fight a system that decides you are mathematically wrong? The flagship shook violently. Entire hallways blinked out of existence. Doors no longer opened to the same rooms. One corridor stretched impossibly long before folding into darkness. Reality itself was failing around them. "No civilization should have this kind of power," Verix whispered. The answer came instantly. No civilization should need it. The words hit harder than any weapon. More visions flooded his mind. Humanity's final years before the system was activated. Riots across nations. Artificial superintelligences predicting extinction within centuries. Military networks growing too powerful to control. Every future eventually ending in the same result. Total annihilation. Not by aliens. By humanity itself. And so they made a choice. If violence could never fully disappear, then reality itself would reject it. Verix saw the creation of something called the Threshold. A lattice hidden beneath space-time. An invisible structure surrounding the Sol system like a second skin. It watched. Calculated. Evaluated intent itself. Any ship entering peacefully passed through normally. Traders. Explorers. Travelers. But hostile intent triggered the system instantly. And once triggered, the Threshold corrected the error. Not through force, but by denying the hostile action permission to exist. Verix felt his thoughts becoming unstable. Memories flickered in and out. His childhood. His victories. His own name. Parts of him were disappearing. "You erased entire fleets," he muttered weakly. "We prevented outcomes," the voice replied. Outside the view screen, the remaining Zyran ships vanished one after another like sparks dying in the dark. The invasion fleet that had conquered hundreds of worlds was being erased in complete silence. Verix dropped to one knee. His right leg flickered transparent before returning again. His body could no longer decide if it was real. "You think this will stop others?" he asked. The voice became distant. Almost tired. "They always come." Verix tried to breathe steadily as reality unraveled around him. "Then others will learn," he said desperately. "Empires larger than mine. Species stronger than humanity. One day something will survive this." For the first time, the voice became completely still. And then it answered. "They all make the same mistake." Verix looked up slowly. The stars outside the ship no longer looked normal. Space itself felt artificial now. Controlled. Observed. The voice spoke one final time. "They believe humanity is still at war with itself." The bridge disappeared around him piece by piece. Crew. Walls. Lights. Sound. Everything faded into empty white silence. And then the voice finished. Without realizing conflict here was already removed. Verix tried to hold onto himself. But even that was becoming impossible. His thoughts slipped away like water through broken glass. Memories disappeared mid-sentence. Faces he once knew became empty shapes. Even the fear inside him no longer felt fully real. Around him, the flagship Night Harbinger continued unraveling silently. The engines vanished first. Then entire weapon systems. Massive armored sections of the ship blinked out one after another, leaving clean holes that opened directly into space. No explosions. No debris. Just absence. The Threshold was not destroying the fleet. It was correcting it. And the correction was nearly complete. Far outside the Sol system, emergency relay drones tried to send warnings back to Zyran space. None succeeded. Signals carrying hostile intent failed the moment they formed. Even information could not escape the condition. Verix finally understood the true horror of humanity's creation. This system wasn't protecting Earth. It was filtering reality itself. A final wall between humanity and everything dangerous enough to threaten it. His vision flickered violently. For 1 second he stood on the bridge. The next he floated inside complete darkness. Then he was somewhere else entirely. A memory. He saw himself years earlier during his first planetary conquest. He remembered standing above a burning city while millions fled below. At the time, he had called it victory. Now he saw only fear. The voice returned quietly. You built your empire on inevitability. Verix struggled to answer. That is how survival works. No, the voice replied. That is how extinction begins. His body fragmented again. This time pieces did not immediately return. His left eye vanished completely. Half the bridge dissolved into white emptiness. The remaining crew members disappeared one by one without even realizing it. Some were speaking when they ceased existing. Their sentences simply ended forever. Verix's breathing became shallow. You could have ruled the galaxy, he whispered. Why hide here? For the first time, the voice almost sounded human again. We tried ruling ourselves first. The answer carried something strange. Regret. Verix saw more fragments of humanity's past. Nations collapsing under superweapons. Autonomous wars fought faster than humans could think. Artificial minds calculating millions of deaths as acceptable losses. Humanity had reached a point where survival itself became uncertain. So they made the most dangerous decision in their history. Not domination. Not expansion. Restriction. They locked violence behind invisible laws buried beneath spacetime itself. Inside the Sol system, war became something reality refused to process. And over centuries, peace stopped being an agreement. It became infrastructure. Verix wanted to laugh. Or scream. Maybe both. All this time, the galaxy feared humanity because of its weapons. But the truth was far worse. Humanity had evolved beyond needing weapons at all. His remaining hand trembled. What happens to me now? The voice answered without emotion. You become impossible. Then Verix began to disappear completely. Not painfully. Not violently. Quietly. Like a thought being forgotten. His body faded into transparent fragments. His memories scattered apart. Even the idea of Verix started collapsing. He tried desperately to hold onto one final truth. One final thought. But the threshold was already removing him from reality itself. And then, everything ended. The Zyran invasion of Earth ended in exactly 47 seconds. No survivors. No wreckage. No battle reports. One moment the greatest fleet in the outer sectors existed. The next moment, it was as if it had never entered the Sol system at all. Across nearby star systems, long-range observers searched for signs of combat. They found nothing. No debris fields. No radiation. No distress signals. Only silence surrounding a quiet yellow star. And deep beneath Earth's surface, a small notification appeared on an old computer monitor inside a dim underground control room. Threat detected. Threat resolved. Duration, 47 seconds. A tired man wearing a faded grey hoodie looked up from a microwave as the screen blinked softly behind him. He sighed. Another one. From the next room, a woman's voice answered over the sound of music playing quietly in the background. How long this time? The man checked the monitor. 47 seconds. A pause. Then she leaned into the doorway holding a cup of coffee. They're lasting longer now, she said with a small smile. The man shrugged casually. Galactic learning curve. He pressed a single button. The warning vanished instantly. No emergency alarms. No military response. No panic. Just another problem already solved before breakfast. The underground facility hummed softly around them. Ancient systems hidden miles below Earth continued operating in silence. Watching. Calculating. Evaluating. Waiting. The woman looked toward the dark monitor again. You ever think one of them will figure it out? The man grabbed his plate from the microwave. They always figure it out, he said. He paused near the doorway. But usually too late. Far above them, Earth continued peacefully through space. Cities glowed softly across the night side of the planet. Satellites drifted silently in orbit. From the outside, humanity looked harmless, divided, ordinary, weak. And that illusion had become the greatest defense ever created. Because somewhere in the darkness beyond the Sol system, another empire was already expanding. Another fleet was already conquering worlds. Another species was already making the same assumptions. They would scan Earth. They would see no defenses, no fleets, no warning systems. And eventually, they would make the same two mistakes. First, they would believe humanity was unprotected. Second, they would believe humanity still believed in war. And then the threshold would wake once more. Quietly. Instantly. Absolutely. Because humanity's greatest weapon was never destruction. It was making conflict itself impossible. And out there in the cold dark between stars, that truth was still waiting to be learned the hard way.